Maseches, Horayos, Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Horayos Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, extra shear in order to finish on time. Mitzvah Hashem, we should be finished by Wednesday. Mitzvah Hashem. And this shows L'Nishmas of Imor Menachem Ben Akiva, U'Lefuas David Ben Sobas El Besoch Shachol Yisrael. Azriel Yosef Ben Zriel Ben Micha Michan Besoch Shachol Yisrael. Meshuach b'shem and mishcha. We are in Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. The line starts with the word b'shem and mishcha. We are more or less the middle of the wide lines. Line starts b'shemen hamishcha, Meshuach, and then b'shemen hamishcha. Yeah, b'shem and mishcha. Those of you who see us online, it's right below my picture. So we're talking here about the hierarchy. Let's say you have two people who have to be freed from jail, from Hamas, Machshima, from the Mexican mafia. Or let's say you have limited resources of money, science fiction, you don't have all the money in the world, and two people approached you for tzedakah. So the question is, who comes first? The question is all the time, priority, priority, priority. Who comes first? Who takes precedence over who? So we're continuing the list that we started last week. Meshuach b'shem and hamishcha koidem lemerube begodim. Let's say you have two kohanim. They're both in a way kohanim gedolim. And one of them is Meshuach b'shem and Mishcha, which means he was anointed with the real holy oil of Moshe Rabbeinu. And the other one is Merubah B'godim. The other one already lives in a time where you don't have Shem and Mishcha, and you only have the extra clothes, the Shmoyne B'godim, and they both come to you for tzedakah, or they both come to you to be saved from jail. So who comes first? So what do we say in the Gemara? We say the one of Shem and Mishcha is before the Merubah B'godim. This is a very, very strange case, right? How could that be? I'm asking a question, which I was happy to see is also a question with Tosas Rosh. This is like asking, like Charles de Gaulle and Napoleon come to you together. It sounds like a very nice beginning of a good joke, but what does that mean? You can't have de Gaulle and Napoleon coming to you at the same time, not in the current incarnations. So how can you have a Shem and a Mishcha guy and a Merubah B'godim come to you together? The Shem and a Mishcha is what Shem and a Mishcha is somebody from Bais Rishon. Merubah B'godim is from Bais Sheni. So how could they come to you together? They both jail together, or they both need money together, and you give precedence to one of Shem and a Mishcha. It does make sense Shem and a Mishcha would be first, because Shem and a Mishcha is more chashuv, because we see he brings the power, the other one doesn't bring the power, right? But how could they both coexist? Answers the Tosas Rosh a very, very brilliant answer. Says the Tosas Rosh like this: the Merubah, when did they actually go in as Shem and Mishcha? In the times of Yoshiyahu HaMelech, not Yishayahu, Yoshiyahu HaMelech, towards the end of Bais Rishon. Okay, so let's say now you can have both people together. How come? Let's say you have a person who was a regular Kohen Gadol, Meshuach b'Shem and Mishcha, before Yoshiyahu. That was a Kohen Gadol, regular Kohen Gadol, with Shem and Mishcha and all, before Yoshiyahu. Then he all of a sudden got sick for a long time, and then he needed a sub. The sub, when did the sub came? After they were going to Shem and Mishcha. So then the substitute, he has what? He has no Shem and Mishcha, only Shmoyne B'godim, and now they both are together. Yeah, the other guy healed, but the Tosas Rosh says something big, very big chiddush, b'shem another Rishon. He says that really, if you have a Kohen Gadol who was missing for a very long time, the substitute continues. So you really have two Kohanim Gedolim, that none of them is really off stage. One of them Mishcha from before, and the substitute came after is Merubah B'godim. So then, who takes precedence? The Shem and Mishcha person. Now comes another case. Merubah B'godim koidem l'mashiach she'over machmas keryoi. Let's say you have a Merubah B'godim and another Kohen who's off the stage. A Kohen who's off the line because he's a Mashiach. He's a Kohen Mashiach she'over machmas keryoi, which means, how could that be? That's a little bit more complicated. You have three Kohanim. You have one Kohen, call him Reuven, he was the real Kohen. And then he had Keri. He had all of a sudden, Tuma. Another guy came in, and that person substituted for him. Okay, let's call him Shimon. Now, the Reuven guy, who originally was off the stage only for Keri, he died. So now, who do you have? You have the sub. But now that sub was not such an amazing guy. They decided to call a third guy already after the times of Yeshayahu, when he only has the begodim. So now you have somebody who is off the stage because he was only a substitute who's not working anymore, okay? And you have a person who's really officiating, but he doesn't have Shem and Mishcha. So you have one who's Shem and Mishcha, but he's not really working in Beis HaMikdash because he's only a sub, which should not take over the throne. And you have another person who came later who only has the begodim, but he does officiate. Then what do we say? We said Me'uber Begodim is first, because Me'uber Begodim may be less holy, but he's functioning, he's working. Because one of the Shmoyne Begodim actually works, and the one who's Shem and Mishcha is not working, is Stam Sab who just got stuck there. Mimela, the one who's working, the one who works, actually takes precedent, is more choshuv. Yes. Next case. Mashiach she'over machmas keryoi, koidem lo'over machmas mumoi. A Mashiach that actually has gone off the stage, off work, because he had carry, which would take one day, or maybe another tumor can take a week. And then you have another Kohen Gadol who's also off the stage because he has a mum which stays forever, let's say. A Baal mum, and that mum is really for life. Lo aleinu, the guy's in wheelchair, shalom. So the one of the carry and the one of the mum, they both were jailed. They both need to be freed. They both need money. They both need something. They both get a yellow Torah, let's say. So the one of the carry, he takes precedent over the mum because one of the carry is only temporary off. The one who's with the mum is off for life. Lo aleinu. And therefore, we say the Baal carry goes first. Over machmas mumoy, next in line, next competition, in the game. Over machmas mumoy, kodim l'mashuach milchama. A person who, that's an interesting one, is not a Kohen Gadol because he's now off the charts because he's Baal Mum, and he has another person, Kohen Mashuach Milchama. What's Mashuach Milchama? Unfortunately, very nogea today, war. And in times of war, you get a Kohen who goes with them to the front line, to Gaza, let's say, and he gives them the spiritual pep talk. He is a chaplain. So that Mashuach Milchama is not really Kohen Gadol. So although the Kohen of Machmas Mumoy is not functioning as a Kohen Gadol, but conceptually, essentially, he is. He's Betzim Kohen Gadol. So him versus Mashuach Milchama, the Kohen Gadol who's not functioning is more choshev than Mashuach Milchama, who's not really Kohen Gadol. Now, next one, Mashuach Milchama koidem l'sgan. Oh, sgan. And Mashuach Milchama is somebody who's sgan. By the way, I made a mistake, and you were right, what you said last week. A sgan is a Kohen who is the future Kohen Gadol in case of Tuma. In other words, if the Kohen Gadol will become Tomeh, then the Sgan is there as a standby, as a bench player, to make sure that if anything happens to Kohen Gadol, the Sgan will take over. That's that kind of deputies. Excuse me? No, whatever I thought. So Mashuach Milchama is before the Sgan. Although the Sgan is the next best thing, the Sgan may be a Kohen Gadol, but he's not yet any special Kohen. He may be one day. Wish him good luck. But the Milchama guy is now, he has a job now. The job is to be the Mashuach Milchama, to be the person going to war. We continue the hierarchy. Sgan kodem la'amarkal. A sgan comes before the amarkal. You may ask the question, my amarkal. The Gemara asks the question, what's an amarkal? Nice word. What does it mean? Amar Chizda omar kula. The one who says everything. What does it mean, the one who says everything? The mother-in-law? No. Omar kula. Why are you laughing? Omar kula means the one who decides who's going to do what in Beis HaMikdash, and says Rashi, Ein Meshivin al Dvorov. Yeah, he's the one who runs the show in Beis HaMikdash. It is not the Kohen Gadol. A Kohen Gadol is the one who has more chashivus. He wears the begodim, and he has a lot of isurim. He's the chief Kohen Gadol to be able to work more, and he can come and bring korban whenever he wants, and he can eat whatever he wants in Beis HaMikdash within the korbanos. But the Amarkal is the one who actually runs the show. He's the one who decides everything in Beis HaMikdash, and therefore the Amarkal is one below the Sgan. Amarkal, Kodem LaGizbar. The Amarkal is one above the Gizbar. Gizbar is the treasurer. The treasurer of Beis HaMikdash is below the president. That sounds like an American shul. Gizbar Kodem LaRosh Mishmar. Where's the women's guild? Gizbar Kodem LaRosh Mishmar. A Gizbar comes before Rosh Mishmar. Rosh Mishmar, the head of a Mishmar. How many Mishmars were there? We're all going to do Mishmar tonight, Shavuos night. What's Mishmar? There were 24 Mishmaras. At the beginning, there were much less. At the end, at the times of David and Shlomo, there were 24 Mishmaras, 24 sections of Kohanim, 24 families of Kohanim. Each one worked in Beis HaMikdash twice a year. Besides Yomim Tovim, would all work together. Yeah, 24 times 2 is 48, plus the Yomim Tovim, the whole Cheshbon. So the head of a Mishmar, every family / Mishmar had one person who was the head of them. He made sure the work went smoothly the whole week. So the Gizba is above him. Rosh Mishmar, Koidem LeRosh Beis Av. Rosh Mishmar is one above the Rosh Beis Av. What's a Beis Av? Every Mishmar was divided to 6 or 7 Botei Av. It's actually a sugya somewhere where there's 6 or 7. Within that week that the Mishmar worked, they had 6 families working each day of the week, and I think on Shabbos they all did together, or there was half together. No, on Shabbos the beginning was one Beis Av, then there was another Beis Av. The Kitzer, the Mishmar. The Rosh Mishmar, the one Rosh Mishmar, then another Mishmar. In any event, the Beis Av is one level below Mishmar. The Mishmar is all the families of that extended family, an area in Eretz Yisrael, and Beis Av is the one which is 1/6 every day of the Mishmar would be devoted to one Beis Av. And the Rosh, the head of Beis Av, gets covered before a regular Kohen, and that's the next thing. Rosh Beis Av, Kohen lo Kohen Hediot. Rosh Beis Av is before the Kohen Hediot. So we have all hierarchy over here. Yeah, we have the Kohen Gadol, the Misham and Mishcha first, then the Merubah Godim, right? Then we have Kerio, we have Mumoy, we have the one who goes to war, then we have the Sgan, then we have the Amarkal, then Rosh Beis Av, and then Rosh Mishmar. Rosh Mishmar, then Rosh Beis Av. Very good. Now, Iboilu. Now comes a question. Iboilu. Leinian Tuma. Let's say there's a case of Tuma, which means, let's say you have now 2 Kohanim that are important. Soon we'll see who they are. 2 important Kohanim, VIC, very important Kohanim. 2 VICs walk down the street late at night, and it's dark, and there's scary music in the background, and then the camera focuses on a dead body. Screeching voice. The kids are there's a Meis Mitzvah. A Meis Mitzvah that they meet together, and though Kohen Gadol should not be mitzvah to anybody, Baal Be'amav, it says, within his nation. If you have a Kohen, if you have a mace that nobody can bury, nobody would bury, then what do you have to do? The Kohen himself has to roll his sleeves and deal with the Kvura. Yeah, you can't call it solo. They don't have iPhones, okay? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you bury the dead. The question is now, let's see the case. Sgan u'Mashuach Milchama. The 2 people who now come facing the dead, and one of them has to deal with it, is either the Sgan, the one who would be a Kohen Gadol, he's like a Kohen Gadol bench player, or Mashuach Milchama, or the one who is supposed to go to war with the people. Ezemem Koidim, which one should go and be nitma, which one should not be nitma, which one has to guard himself, so to speak, make sure that he remains tahor more. Let's listen to the Brisa. Toshma, come in here. The Tanya says in the Brisa, Sgan u'Mashuach Milchama shoyu mehalchim b'derech. They were walking down the road. Upoga be'meis mitzvah. They bumped into a meis mitzvah. Ouch. Which one should become Tomeh? Mutav shitam Mashuach Milchama, the alitam esgan. The Mashuach Milchama should be the one that's nitma, and not the sgan. Why not? Why is the Mashuach Milchama nitma before the sgan? Shimi Rabu Psul b'Kohen Gadol. What's the whole idea of a sgan? That if the Kohen Gadol has psul, let's say tuma, nichnas asgan misham shachtov. The whole idea is that the sgan should be ready in standby in case the Kohen Gadol gets tuma. Now you want to make him tome? That's retarded. Why should the sgan be tome? Well, he's the one who's supposed to be tahar, kept with tahara in case the Kohen Gadol becomes tome. That's all vort. He's supposed to be there, yeah, making sure that if anything happens to the Kohen Gadol, he jumps into the court next in line. No, so of course he has to remain tahor. Mimela, the Mashuach Milchama, with all due respect, he's the one who has to deal with the dead. Frag the Gemara about Tanya. Now we're challenging it from another brisa. It says in the brisa, Mashuach Milchama koidem is gone. It says Mashuach Milchama is before this gun, as we just saw ourselves. We saw it right now, a few minutes ago. We saw Mashuach Milchama is before his gun. So what are you talking about? Amaravina, no. Kitanya, that brisa is a whole different issue. Lachayoiso, it's talking about to make him live, meaning to support him, to take him out of jail, to give him money. And Mashuach Milchama is intrinsically more important than this gun For the simple reason, the Meshuch Milchama right now has a job. Meshuch Milchama, he's the chaplain of the army. He has a job now. A Sgan is a would-be, could-be, should-be person who may, at some stage, become a Kohen Gadol. And therefore, when it comes to essential chashivus, important is, I always say this mashal, who's more important, the president of the US or the cleaner of the White House, whoever cleans, excuse my language, the toilet? Of course the president. No, it's not of course. If there were no cleaners in the White House, it wouldn't be a president, nobody would function. There is chashivus be'etzem essential, and there's functional chashivus. Yeah, there's being essential as a, some. That's the same thing over here. The etzem, the Kohen Meshuch Milchama is more important than this guy, because Meshuch Milchama has a job right now to be the one who encourages the soldiers more than this guy who's right now regular Kohen who would be one day. But Shekin, when it comes to Tuma, when it comes to actual Tuma, then it's different, because Tuma means that the Sgan has to be kept with Tahara, because he may have to jump into the Beis HaMikdash and work instead of a person who may be Tameh, so of course he has to be Tahar. That's the whole idea. But Shekin is Sgan, the Meshuch Milchama, if the Meshuch Milchama is Tameh now, for let's say, 1 week, etc. They'll manage whatever. Who says there's a war right now? Who says better? It's not lav dafka as important as having a potential Kohen Gadol who may have to run into the job every second. Continues the next Mishnah, more about hierarchy. It looks like not all human beings were born equal. I'm so sorry to blow the bubble on the Americans and the French. What can we do? Yeah, I hope YouTube leaves that video on. Says the Mishnah, Kohen Koydem LeLevi. We all know that from the reading of the Torah, the traditional Torah reading. Kohen Koydem LeLevi. Kohen goes before Levi, and then also goes for Shichrur, for redeeming him from jail, from Hamas, from whatever, giving him money, everything. The Kohen goes first. Levi LeIsrael. Levi is before Israel. Israel LeMamzer. Israel is before the Mamzer. Everything will be explained, by the way. Mamzer LeNosin. And Mamzer goes before Nosin. Nosin is literally, Nosin means given, the one that was given. Who are the Nesinim? They were the descendants of the Givonim. The Givonim were not nice. The Givonim lied to Yoshua. They were really local goyim. They were supposed to be killed. They faked it as if they came from faraway land. They managed to trick Yoshua. And now Yoshua made them afterwards already. They had an agreement with them already. So Yoshua sort of let them stay, and they became water carriers and woodcutters. And what do we say about them? Not the nicest people. They don't have the best midos. They don't have the best the level in our nation. So they're even below a mamzer, and everything will be explained in the Gemara. But nosin leger, and nosin is before ger. Interesting. As opposed to v'aftem esager. It's a big question here. We see the nosin. What? Very good. And nosin comes before ger. And nosin that was born Jewish. And Nosin is of Nosin, is a descendant of a Nosin. It comes from a lineage of Nesinim. The Ger, not yesterday, 2 years ago, was a very devout Roman Catholic. You know the name is Mackenzie, of course. And now he became Jewish, and we welcome him, but he's below the Nosin. Interesting. We'll discuss that more later. This is just the Mishnah, yeah? The Ger, Eved Meshucha. A Ger takes precedent over a freed Eved. An Eved Knaini that had the level of a Jew partially, is like a woman, and then he became a full member of the community, but he's below the Ger. Emosai. When is all that true, this hierarchy? Yeah, that may seem strange, one above the other. When is that true? Bizman Shekulim Shavim. They're all equal. Where everything else is equal, then we say they're all the same. No, they're not all the same. Then we go over the hierarchy, but the lineage, like, where did you come from? Let's say there's a mamzer Talmid Chacham. The mamzer is clear Talmid Chacham. Nev Kohen Gadol, the highest one, and he's an Am Haaretz. Mamzer Talmid Chacham, Kodem Kohen Gadol Am Haaretz. That's for Erev Shavuos, Raboisai. The Torah supersedes everything. The Torah changes the order. If a mamzer is a Talmid Chacham, he absolutely jumps the queue, jumps the whole line, and becomes number one before Kohen Gadol. If the Kohen Gadol happens to be Am Haaretz, which is not ideal, but did happen in history, so the mamzer is there before the Kohen Gadol if the mamzer is more of a Talmid Chacham. Says the Gemara, everything will be explained in the Gemara. In Yirtzeh Hashem. Says the Gemara, Kohen Kodem LeLevi. How do you know Kohanim are before Levim? Don't tell me because you saw it in Kriyas HaTorah today. We need the source. Shenema, Bnei Amram, Aaron and Moshe. Aaron and Moshe were both the children of Amram. The Abdul Aaron, Lakdisha Kodesh Kadoshim. Oh, Aaron was separated. Aaron was anointed, was selected to be holy of holies, Kodesh Kadoshim, as opposed to the other Levim who stayed as they were. Levi Kodem Yisrael. How do you know Levi is before Israel? Not only because he washes the hands and gets sheni. How do you know Levi is before Israel? Shene'emar bo'esi hivdil Hashem es Shevet Levi. That time Hashem separated Shevet Levi. Yeah, they deserved it also because they did not worship the ego. They learned Torah in Mitzrayim. They deserved it. They worked hard on the title, and therefore Levim come before other people. And there's a pasuk. Yisrael kodem lemamzer. Why is Israel before mamzer? It's not his fault. Everyone's asking. Says the Gemara, true. Shezem miyuchas v'zein miyuchas. A regular Israel has yachas, has normal lineage of Adam lineage. His grandfather was Rosh Yeshiva. I mean, yichus is normal yichus, man, woman, normal, everything kosher. It's not a mamzer. The shenk and the mamzer is no yichus. The mamzer, he comes from forbidden relationship, which means it's lack of yichus. So there is a pgam in him at some stage, some point. Mamzer koidem lenosin. By the way, the Meir says here something very interesting, that if you have two people, one this, one that, if you don't give covet, we're not trying Khalila to depreciate or degrade the lower one. We're trying to give covet to the good one. In other words, if you treat both the same, it's lack of covet to the Talmid Chacham if you treat the other person like the Talmid Chacham. It's lack of covet to the Levi if you treat him like Israel, because he knows he's a Levi. The Torah says that it's kilu, a punch in the face of the person who's not a Levi. Yeah? Anybody who arranged the Simcha knows it's always very hard. The Kibbudim, yeah, would you give covet to the other? Of course, everyone has to be mochel in their covet. From our point of view, as a recipient of the covet, you have to be mochel the covet. But to give covet, you have to know to treat people in a different way. Mamzer koidem lenosin. Oh, why is the mamzer before the nosin? A mamzer comes from a terrible kind of relationship, from sin. The nosin could be a good boy. He was born already Jewish. Says the Gemara, interesting. Zeba mitipa kshera, zeba mitipa psula. Interesting. The mamzer comes from a kosher drop. You know what kind of drop that means. Although the relationship was terrible and usher, but the type of person was Jewish. Mitzad the Jewish type, the Judaism, that's kosher person. A nosin comes from posel di katipa because it comes from people who are essentially cruel, essentially rama, essentially people who have bad midas, essentially, therefore they are below. Nosin koidem leger. Why is the nosin before the ger? A nosin was born Jewish, coming from not such great sheikhs of the family. And the ger is somebody who was megayer later in life. The ger could be a nice guy, a very good guy. So why is the nosin first? Zeh godel imonu b'kedusha, v'zeh loy godel imonu b'kedusha. The nosin was born already into a Jewish family. He grew up with us b'kedusha. He grew up with a nation b'kedusha, meaning holiness. He was born Jewish. Everything was kosher from the beginning. The ger who did not grow up with us b'kedusha, as spiritual and as amazing as he is, and we are mechuyev to do after misager. Nevertheless, in the hierarchy, because he grew up goyshe, then became Jewish, mimela, the treatment he gets, we give nosin more cover than we give to the ger. Now, what about after misager? So I don't know. I don't know. But I think, and this somebody else told me, that the idea is when you love the ger, mechabed the ger, smile to him, tell him good morning, give him tzedakah, support him, help him, that's amazing. But when this is all about one instead of the other, when you have only 100 shekels, yeah, less than 100 won't help them. And you have the ger, or you have the mamzer, you give the mamzer before the ger. When one is instead of the other, then we give precedent to the mamzer or the notzin, whoever, before the ger, because the ger does have his baggage, does have his past, and therefore they would be insulted. They would be insulted if you treat them less than the ger. It's a very cruel game. There's no parav. Yeah. In other words, the notzin would say, "I was born Jewish. I went to cheder with you. I'm your friend from the day I was born." And you're giving it to him who was a ger, and he came here, I don't know, 5 years ago. There will be a punch in the face to the other person. Therefore, you give covet to the other person before you give it to the ger. When there's one instead of the other, musical chairs. But if it's a ger alone, obviously you give the ger as much covet, as much money, as much everything you have. And when you do it, you make the mitzvah of after misager. Ger, let's see just one more line. Ger koidem le'eved meshucha. A ger is before the eved meshucha. Why? Zeh hoya b'chlal oru, v'zeh lo hoya b'chlal oru. Which means the eved, although he was born an eved knaini, which means he was already partially Jewish, and that I would say, yeah, and then he freed, and then somebody freed him. The Eved Meshucha is below the Ger. Why? Because the Ger is, the Eved is Oru. It says by Noach, when Noach wanted to curse his grandson Canaan, what did he say? Eved Avodim Yelechov, and what did he say about him? Oru. He'll be Oru, Eved Avodim. So you see, being an Eved has to do with being Oru, being cursed. An Eved is a metzias of being accursed. I think the reason is because Avram told Eliezer, who was an amazing, amazing person, Eliezer over the Avram, and Avram told him, "You're Oru." Why is he giving such a compliment to his Eved Oru? And I Baruch. Why? Because the opposite of Baruch is Oru. Baruch means somebody that has continuation, continuity. Base, Resh, Chaf is all about double. Double 2, double 20, double 200. It's all about continuing. And Eved is no continuation. And Eved is a person who's always subjugated to somebody else. And Eved is no initiative, no force of life of his own, so to speak, because he's always under other people. Therefore, that's called Matzav Avro. Later on, he was liberated. I'm very happy for him. But Lamaisa, although it's not so posh that you're allowed to free your Eved, only sometimes, right? For a minion, Tzar Rabim, Hefker, usually you're not supposed to mishach your Eved. And therefore, the Eved that started off his life, the Oru, is worse than the Ger who started off his life. He's a Goy. The Goy is Tam, regular Goy. What do he wants from me? He was born a Goy. An Eved was born an Eved, but he's a matzav of Oru, being accursed, which is therefore worse than the Ger, and the Ger take precedence over the freed Eved. Let's continue a few more lines. We have to finish the Amud today. How do you know that if the mamzer or anybody below him is a Talmid Chacham, they jump to the top of the queue. They become number one because they're Talmid Chacham. It says in the Pasuk, the Torah is more dear than Pnini. More dear is more important, more expensive, more lucrative, more whatever you want than Pninim, than pearls. The Dorasha is Mikon Godol Shenichnes Lefnai V'Lifnim. Pninim is an allusion to the word Pnei V'Pnim. The Torah is more worthy than a Kohen Gadol who goes to the inner of the inner. So you see, you can break the glass ceiling. There is a glass ceiling in Yiddishkeit, but you can break it. You can break it by being Talmid Chacham. And it says, the famous Mishnah in Ovis, anybody can take Kesser Torah. It can be Mamzer and Eved, the worst kind of Yichus. You can become a big Talmid Chacham, Shmai Naftalion, Rabbi Akiva. I know a big Rosh Koilel who's a ger, somebody in Europe. All kinds of people. You can become a big guy. If you're a ger, nobody would stop you. And then you become more chashuv than Kohen Gadol. By the way, Ellen asks about Kriyas Torah. The answer is it wasn't just Ravad. It says in Halacha, I don't remember, but I saw it once in Halacha. It wasn't just a story. That there is a thing, if you have a big Talmid Chacham, a great Talmid Chacham may get a Aliyah Torah before the Kohen. And this is probably the source. The Talmid Chacham, so it supersedes, overtakes the Kohen, even not a practice today, as far as I know, but conceptually, I think it's taken for Halacha and Shulchan Aruch, if I'm not mistaken, there's definitely such a thing. Daniel, Shimon Bal Yochai Oimer, Bedinu, logically speaking, the line starts with the word bedin, and we are 6 lines on the bottom of the page. Logically, Eved Meshucha should be before the ger, not like we say. Why? The Eved was born into an Eved family, already second generation, and that Eved was born into a, so to speak, Jewish family. His master and his parents are also semi-Jewish, like a woman. So he started off good. The Shenk and the Ger started off not so good. He started off a goy, then he became Jewish. However, the answer is what we said before. With all due respect, the Eved started off his life as being an Oru. Being an Eved is something very low because he's like Canaan. 1 second. He's like Canaan. He's somebody who has no initiative, no life. He's like an Atzlan. Then his eyes opened. But the Ger was a guy. The guy's not not every guy's an Oru. It's some regular, nice guy in America. He's not an Oru. And Mimele, the Ger takes precedent over the Eved. I prefer a few more lines and ask you a question, or is it urgent? Go ahead with the question, okay? Commercials? Yeah, I'm listening. Let's continue, and we're going to touch on your point, parrots. Let's see. Okay. Interesting question. Shall you marry a Giyores? Let's see. The Talmidim, the disciples, the Esker Belozo Tzodok. Why does everyone run to marry Giyores? and people are not so excited, they don't run to marry a shifra meshucheres. One girsa says roitzin as misratzin, they're okay with it, but one girsa says they run. Why do they run? So again, I saw one of the Rishon, remember who, he said sometimes people prefer a gioires because she's below you in status. And some men like to have, a woman who's not going to tell them, my yichus, my zedi did this and did that. Gioires knows her place. She's not going to start giving a mussar about what her grandfather did in Kiddush or what her grandfather did, what her grandmother did with Challah. You know better than her, and that's the way it should be in the eyes of this man. So people prefer them. Okay, if so, why don't they run to marry Meshucheres? Why do they prefer the Gioris over the Meshucheres, who was a Shifcha that was freed? Amar lehem. So answer number one, we know. One of them, she was Ohu. In other words, the Shifcha, up until her point of liberation, then what came? She was an Ohu. She was an Ahura. I don't want a lady who was Ohu. And the other one, the Goita, the ex-Goita, was not an Ohu. She was a regular Goita. Davar acher, and that's very interesting. La halacha. That's also very nogea. A Gioires, at some point in her life, when she realized she wants to be a Megayah, and it's a conscious decision, like you said, and she wants to be a ger, she was inspired by looking at the Jewish people, and she decided to be a Gioris, and she knows that eventually she wants to be a Megayah after the whole long process is over. So that happy note, she stops having parties in college that include Mesilas Yesharim and Shar Tshuva. She stops dating men the Goyish way, to put it cleanly. Yeah. In other words, she keeps herself, she guards herself. The Shifcha has two issues with that. The Shifcha is not snizdik. The Shifcha, first of all, is known to be mufkeres. Shfachos, marbe, shfachos, marbe. Anybody? Zima. The one who has many shfachos is eventually end up with zima. You control them; they work for you, and eventually a person falls into zima, into znus, when lots of shifchas. And it says, why were there? One of the only cases where it's allowed to be mishacher and eved or shifcha is when she's becoming a michshol. She's a stumbling stone to all the people in town, because a shifcha is not guarding herself. She has no self-respect. And Mimela, the Gioires who guarded herself and prefer her over a Shifcha, and also a Shifcha also doesn't know when she'll be freed. A Shifcha may also want to start going the right path 2 or 3 years before she's Meshucher, but she doesn't know. The Gioires knows. She goes to London Beth Din, and she travels there every day, and she goes and she studies, and at that point she becomes, so to speak, not Jewish but true, and she behaves nicely. And she knows eventually, I don't know, this and that day she'll become Jewish, and that's the plan. And Meshucheres has no idea. Meshucheres has no idea when it's going to happen. It's not up to her, if ever. True, very good point. She's not supposed to. She doesn't know when Abraham Lincoln and the white horse is going to come and free her. She has no idea. And Mimela, and also, Lemaisa, we see it today. I mean, you see, by some goyim in more parts than the other. Usually the ones who become gerim are more spiritually inclined. You hear the story. Sometimes from childhood they were attracted to Yiddishkeit, they didn't know why, or there's something caught them. So usually you go to a Goyish high school, nobody there is Tsanua, but the one who ended up being the Gioires is usually not the one who was the wildest girl, Mistame. Not always, but Mistame, because that's a matzav. Mimel, the person prefers the Gioires over the Shifcha. So that's the end of the hierarchy. But again, Talmid Chacham does everything. Talmid Chacham makes all the difference. And also, wife of Talmid Chacham, Eshes Chaver Kichaver. Sifev and Eshes Chaver, and she's a Gioires. She takes precedent over the wife of Kohen Gadol, L'choiro. That's my own chiddush, but I think so, because we say Eshes Chaver is like himself. Why is it Talmid Chacham? Because of his wife. Who do you think is dealing with everything while he's in Kohen? Exactly. Shalom Talmidov. Thank you for staying extra time, and we receive the Torah tonight. You know that Shavuos is like Yom Kippur. Shavuos, all your Averos Hamimcha. If you decide to be Makabel Torah, it's Kaporas Avoinos. That's what doesn't say Chatos by Shavuos in the Korban. It says in the Yerushalmi, Yom Kippur, Shavuos is tantamount to Yom Kippur. What a holy day. Go to the mikveh, do tshuva, behave properly, accept the Torah, and all will be well. We are Chosan, very nice. Sometimes we're compared to Chosan, sometimes to Kalavi, right? We're compared to Chosan also. So we have to go to mikveh and prepare ourselves like a Chosan B'yom Chuposay. Very good. We're about to get married again. Now hierarchy in animals. Shalu Talmidav es Rabbi Elazar, Mipnema Kelev Makiris Koinoi. Why is it that a dog knows his koinoi here means the master, the one who gives him food? Dogs are, as we all know, is what? You're going to say he's a man's best friend. Well, he's a very loyal animal. That's why some people are against owning dogs because they are so loyal. You become too friendly with a creature with no neshama. Yeah, think about it. A dog is very, very loyal, and it says it in the Ramban also. The dogs are extremely loyal. It's known already from Chazal, and we have some Akar Satov to them. But on the other hand, owning a dog, I'm not here to start the whole thing about that, but I'm saying you become too emotionally attached to somebody who's not Tzelem Elokim. That itself is degrading in a way. Think about it. Just, food for thought, food for dogs. Food for, yeah. Mipnei Rav Davidovich. Mipnei Makel Makios Koine, V'chatule no Makios Koine. Cats are not the same. Cats are very catty. The cat is not so loyal. Cats, they can betray and they're not as loyal and as nice and helpful like the dog. They don't bring your slippers to you when you sit by the fireplace, right? The cats don't, and the dogs do. Why is it the dog is more aware and conscious? So the Gemara says, very interesting, this is a bit of zoology over here, because the dog simply has better memory. They don't have the shama. The dog remembers better. Well, the cat doesn't remember as much, so memory creates ne'emanus, creates loyalty. And the Gemara answers, Amar Lohem, Umaha oichel mimashach ba'oichel meshakeach. And now we're going to talk about kosher l'shikha. If you eat something that the mouse ate from, right? The mice eat yellow cheese. Let's say a mouse or a few mice ate some yellow cheese, and you eat the rest. Besides, the idea is repulsive. Let's say you're really hungry. I don't know. The guy's out of nowhere, jail. And what? That would cause you to forget your learning. That's a supernatural thing, kosher l'shikha. If you eat something that the mouse ate from, the leftovers, you're going to forget your learning, or you'll forget anything, or to a point. The one who eats the mouse itself, the one who eats Mickey and Minnie, the one who eats them, the cat, for sure is going to forget. He's forgetful. Yeah, he doesn't connect 1 to 2. He doesn't connect from today to tomorrow. Mainly, he doesn't remember the Bailim as well. He knows maybe who the owner is, but mentally, it doesn't connect from now to later. And therefore, for him, there's no loyalty. Loyalty is all about consistent, right? One more line and that's it. Why is it that everyone controls the achbarim? Everyone hates mice. I'm number one. Yeah. Why is it that everyone hates mice and they chase them and they prosecute them? What's the yetzer hara of the mice? What does that mean? They bite. They bite even the glima, the clothes, the garments. What do they gain from that? They don't really eat it. It's not nourishment for them. They stop bite into it. They're annoying. They do things for no reason. Rav Popper will turn the page, and that will stop today. Rav Popper Amar afilu shufta mara gaitzi. They even bite from the handle of the axe or the handle of the shovel. In other words, they're not getting a no. They ruin everything with no sense. It's still a senseless animal. Yeah, even in the world of animals, some animals are more, so to speak, rational than the others, so to speak. And therefore, yeah, it's true. I once read in a science book that the lowest the animal, the less it has, so to speak, logic. Monkeys are very, very intelligent. And the ants are, whatever, they have their own state of the ants, but they're not as, you know what I'm saying, not as developed. Or mainly here, the mice are so to speak, bad. They do things for no good reason. They harm. So too, the din is that everyone's going to harm them with no reason too either. Okay, Shkoyach, may we be Mechabel Torah Me'ava, Ev Kapara. You're welcome to Mashir today, 1 o'clock at night, Timur Hashem, about our relationship with Hashem. And may we have very good relationship with Him. Be always from the highest echelon of Talmidei Chachamim, and have a very, very good Matan Torah. Thank you.